Shalom, mashpacha. Hope y'all had a productive week in the spirit. I wanted to give y'all a quick lesson I'm going to call the first parable to understand. Right now, I know sometimes parables can be hard to understand, especially if you're really new in this truth. So I wanted to go over the first parable that you should learn, or the first parable you really should understand, in order to make it easier to understand all the other parables, right? Especially the ones that our Hamashiach Yahushai, who Christ was teaching, right? Which is the parable of the sower. So we're going to start in Mark chapter 4, where Yahushai, our Messiah, was teaching a great multitude or many people, right? So this is verse 1. And he began again to teach by the seaside, and there was gathered unto him a great multitude, so that he entered into a ship and sat in the sea, and the whole multitude was by the sea on the land. So imagine Yahushai, right, just sitting on a boat and a bunch of people on the land watching and listening, right? Verse 2. And he taught them many things by parables, and said unto them in his doctrine. So he was teaching many things by parables. Parable comes from the Greek word parabole or parabole, which means the placing of one thing alongside another, right? It also means a narrative that's common to life that conveys a moral, right? So our Messiah taught a lot like this, where he would compare one thing to something common in life to convey a message, or to get a moral, like a moral of the story, right? So verse 3, hearken, behold, there went out a sower to sow. So he said, listen, there went out a sower to sow. A sower was someone who went out and spread seed, right, into the ground to grow crops. So verse 4, and it came to pass as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls and the air came and devoured it up. And some fell on stony ground, where it had not much earth, and immediately it sprang up, because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no fruit. And other fell on good ground, and did yield fruit that sprang up and increased, and brought forth some 30, and some 60, and some 100. Right? So Yahushua said that there's 3 different types of ground that could not grow seed, right? Or they could not grow fruit, Salakia. This is 3 different states of the heart, or of the mind, right? Because we know that the heart, only the good ground took in the seed in that state of mind or state of heart, right? And yielded or brought forth fruit, which we know according to Matthew 7:20 that a man's actions are his fruits, right? Whether it be good or whether it be bad fruits. So some brought forth 30, some 60, some 100. In other words, it's those with good grounds are going to bring forth good fruits, actions, or deeds. Only the ones with good ground, right? So like the ones with bad ground cannot bring forth that seed, right? They cannot grow that seed that's planted. So it's very important to be able to identify what type of ground or soil we are, because there's only one type, right, that we need to be in order to bring forth those fruits. So verse 9, and he said unto them, he that hath ears to hear, let him hear. So almost everybody's got ears, and almost everybody could hear, and at that time could hear him, right? But he was talking about spiritual ears. Verse 10, and when he was alone, they that were about him with the 12 asked of him the parable. So the 12 disciples or apostles asked him afterwards, when he was alone, about the parable. Verse 11, and he said unto them, unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of the Most High, but unto them that are without, All these things are done in parables, that seeing they may see and perceive not, and not perceive, Salakia, and hearing they may hear and not understand, lest at any time they should be converted, and their sins should be forgiven them. So he said to you it is given to know these mysteries, but to everyone else, these are done in parables, right? Why? So that they'll see and hear and not understand, or else they'll be converted and be forgiven. So Yahushua is literally saying that he's speaking in parables so that some people won't understand, right? Now, I know some Christians would say or think, nah, not my sweet Jesus, right? Jesus, right? But this is the Most High Son saying that the word and the mysteries in it are not for everyone, right? Many are called, but few are chosen. So verse 13, and he said unto them, know ye not this parable? And how then will ye know all parables? So he says, know ye not this parable? Then how, if you don't know this parable, then how are you to know all the other parables, right? That's why I'm titling this video the first parable to understand. It's imperative that you understand what it is to be good soil, so that you can receive the seed that's sown, which is this parable, other parables, precepts, and the words of the Bible in general, right? So the seed is the word. Now you got to understand the different types of soil, which represent the types of heart or the types of mind of us, right? Of the people that are hearing the word and receiving the seed. So verse 14, the sower soweth the word, and these are they by the wayside where the word is sown. But when they have heard, Satan cometh immediately and taketh away the word that was sown in their hearts. So this is the first type of ground, or the first type of soil. It's wayside ground, or wayside soil. So wayside ground is the ground that was right alongside the path, that the sower, when he was throwing the seeds to grow crops, he would walk on it, right? And anybody say they're walking along the path, they may walk around on that wayside soil, right? So because the ground would get stepped on, the ground got compressed, right? And the seed doesn't even really get a chance to get into the ground. So when the word is sown into the wayside soil, the wayside mind or heart, Satan comes immediately and takes away the seed or the word that was sown in it. So this can be people that are so beaten down from life, beaten down from their past, and they've been walked on by people and by certain situations and gone through so many things that they feel so stepped on that they can't even really allow the word to come into their heart, right? Because they're so closed off to allowing it to enter into them, just like the ground that's been stepped upon, right? So verse 16, and these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution ariseth for the word's sake, immediately they are offended, right? So the second type of ground is stony ground. This is the people that hear the word, and like it said, they receive it immediately. They receive that word. Just like when you throw seeds, you throw a bunch of seeds into a bunch of stones, right? Stony ground, the seed will definitely fall into the cracks in between those stones, right? These are the people that receive the word when you give it to them, or when they hear it, or when they read it, and they endure with it, but it's only for a short period of time, right? Because when the sun or the heat of life comes in the form of affliction, in the form of persecution for the word's sake, their seed or the word that is sown in their heart and their mind, it withers away, because it had no deep rooting in their soil or their mind to begin with, right? Just like literally planting seeds in stony ground, it doesn't grow roots, right? So verse 18, And these are they which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word, and the cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the lusts of other things entering in, choke the word, and it becometh unfruitful. Right? So this is the third type of soil, that of bad soil or bad ground. This is thorny ground. These are the people that hear the word, that's planted in their mind, in their heart, but they're among the thorns, right? The thorns can represent the worldly things that grow on you, the deceitfulness of worldly riches, when real wealth is spiritual, right? The thorns are the lust of the flesh, sex, money, drugs, people, right? These thorns grow on you, and it says that it chokes out the seed, right? It chokes out the word that is sown in your heart, and you then yield or bring forth no fruit because it gets choked out by these people and these things. So verse 20, and these are they which are sown on good ground, such as hear the word and receive it and bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100. So this is the ground or soil that we have to be in order to make it to the kingdom. We have to be good ground to receive the word, to receive that seed. So how do you know that you are good ground, right? By not only hearing the word, but receiving it, not blowing it off because it speaks against how you're living, but by receiving it and putting it into action in your life. And when you put it into action, you become not a hearer only, but a doer of the word, right? And how do you know that you're being a doer? It will bring forth fruits, some 30, some 60, some 100-fold, depending on how much you water that seed through studying and through applying the word, right? So we always got to honestly examine ourselves and use discernment to see and to realize and to be real with ourselves. What soil are we being, right? What state of mind or state of soil, state of ground are we in? Because some people are ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth, like it says in 2 Timothy 3:7, right? This is because they are not good soil. Some are wayside ground. You're just so closed off spiritually that you don't even give yourself a chance to receive the seed, which is the word, right? Some are stony ground. You receive the word, but you don't let it root deep enough into your heart, into your mind, right? Or to where you don't let other people's opinions and persecutions of what you believe and what you're doing according to the word just scorch out what you believe and just kill that fruit, and you don't bear fruit, right? And some are thorny ground. You don't give the word a chance to grow in you because you don't separate yourself from the people, from the lusts and the cares and the riches of the world that will choke out that seed from your heart, right? And therefore you keep falling back into the world instead of bearing that fruit that you have to bear, right? So always remember that we have to be good ground to bear fruit and to make it to the kingdom, right? Because like it says in Matthew 7:19 and 20, it says, every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down, cut down, right? And cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits you shall know them, right? So some people say, I believe the word, I follow the word, this, that, and the other. You could say that you're good ground, but it's by your fruits that you're going to know whether or not that tree or that person is actually good ground, right? So examine the type of person, the type of ground you are, and do whatever you got to do to cut off whatever and whoever you have to in order to become that good ground, right? So hopefully this will help y'all get a better understanding on this parable and other parables as well, because like Yahushua said, right, know ye not this parable, and how then will ye know all parables, right? So a Shar Shabbat to those of you observing Sabbath today. Shalom and Barakatah to those of you who aren't. Let's not be broken apart and divided into factions over the time and observance of Sabbaths and holy days. Because, man, let me tell you, that's one of the reasons I felt like I need to get off of social media for a while. Just so much division, man, over small little pieces of doctrine. When Colossians 2:16 says, "Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of a holy day or of the new moon or of the Sabbath," right? So all praise to the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. Y'all have a good one. Shalom.